Well, pandemics do make strange bedfellows. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and Ontario Premier Doug Ford put down their swords and announced a massive deal to boost the electric vehicle industry today. The two governments will both chip in $295 million to mass produce electric vehicles and the batteries that power them at the Ford Motor Company's plant in Oakville, Ontario. It's all part of nearly $2 billion three-year agreement announced last month with the auto union Unifor. So a lot of happy people today. But remember, the Ford government has already cut buyer rebates on electric cars that plummeted sales in that province. Will that change as well? Here to talk about the details of the deal is the Innovation, Science and Industry Minister, Navdeep Bains. He was there, as we saw earlier. Good to see you, Minister, and I hope you and the family are well. Can you please tell Canadians why taxpayers need to invest nearly $600 million into a company that's expected to post a pre-tax profit of $1.5 billion in the third quarter this year, and pays their CEO $18 million a year? That's almost 160 times the average worker's salary. Why do they need taxpayer money?
It's a great question, Evan, and I must confess it's important to note that we're in a global race to get these types of mandates to build batteries and zero-emission vehicles in Canada. It's so critical that we recognize that we need to compete with other countries. They put forward similar measures, and we stepped up in a big way to make this investment. And the benefits go beyond simply the production and the assembly line workers. There are indirect jobs that are associated with the dealerships, with the supplier base that also benefit from this. So this is about a significant transformation in our auto sector. The auto industry is going electric, and we want to be in the front of the pack to create these new opportunities and jobs for years to come.
Yeah, and I understand the transition you've got for batteries, cobalt manufacturers in Sudbury, aluminum manufacturers for the body of the vehicles in Quebec. I appreciate that, and there is a move for this. But we know what the taxpayers put in, $600 million. What is the return on investment? Do you have a number on that?
So we want to further accelerate these investments. One of the things we were upfront about was securing the 5,400 jobs in writing for the next 10 years. So this is about good quality middle-class jobs as well, but it's also about accelerating the transformation for the supplier base and the supply chain as well. When we're looking for additional investments for zero-emission vehicles or batteries, now we have a supplier base that's also made the transition. So this will create more opportunities and more investments going forward, and that's a big takeaway from today's announcement.
You say 5,400 jobs. The province of Ontario says it will create 3,000 jobs. Which is it?
In the press release and what the Prime Minister echoed was over 5,000 jobs, so it's 5,400 production jobs, Evan.
Okay, so it's over 5,000. Now, many of the cars, I saw that, I watched the press conference today, they're pretty expensive cars. Now, the Ontario government in the last 2 years has canceled the electric vehicle rebate, the $14,000. I know the federal government stepped up with a $5,000 rebate. They also canceled a program to keep building charging stations, to outfit homes with wiring for future charging stations. Okay, if this is the future, did your government, the federal government, discuss with Premier Ford to reverse those rebates?
Well, this definitely applies a lot of pressure on them to rethink their strategy overall. As you've indicated, there's different components to it. There's the rebate program to provide incentives for consumers. There is the infrastructure investment that's critical for the charging stations. We need to build the vehicles here, and we need to also take advantage of our Canadian competitive advantage, which is the fact that we have access to these mines and minerals that are so critical, like cobalt, like nickel, like lithium, like aluminum, as you described. So it's all about all those different aspects coming together to create new opportunities, new jobs. It's about connecting the resource sector with the manufacturing sector. And so we're really excited about this mines to mobility strategy. And I think, as you've indicated, it does apply pressure on all provinces to be able to come forward with meaningful infrastructure investments as well as rebate programs.
Right. I mean, they pulled it back because, nobody was really supportive of giving rich people to buy $50,000 Teslas. I get that, but they don't have any rebate like they have right now outside of the federal one in Quebec and in British Columbia. Just last question.
Yeah, if I may on that point, Evan, sorry, go ahead, Evan.
Okay, go ahead. No, jump in there. Go ahead, Minister.
No, the point I wanted to make was that aside from the rebates, it's important to note that the market itself is going to grow. Right now, there's 136,000 vehicles on the road, zero-emission vehicles. That number is going to increase to 13.2 million vehicles in the next 10 years. So the market opportunities are there. The consumers are going that way. The cost of producing these batteries and battery electric vehicles is starting to come down. So I'm confident that the rebate part is critical, but it's not the only factor that's going to drive growth and opportunities.
No, I get that, but does that mean, okay, now that was Ford, and this was all led by Unifor, the union, negotiating a new agreement with Ford. They got that. They now are going to go to other companies like General Motors and Chrysler. Is the government now going to pop in hundreds of millions more dollars to those companies as well? Because you better believe they're going to come forward with their hands open as well.
Look, we're going to evaluate each investment on its own merit. This one was very transformative. This is a $2 billion investment in Oakville, the largest such facility for zero-emission vehicles for Ford Motor Company of Canada in North America. And like I said, this is not only good for the company, but it helps the acceleration in the transition for the supply chain, which will allow us to get additional investments going forward. And so we'll work with the other automakers as well. We'll be at the table with them. We'll evaluate their business plans. But it's about securing good quality middle-class jobs, and it's about making sure that we strengthen our automotive sector, which contributes $16 billion to our national economy. And the job footprint for both direct and indirect jobs is well over 500,000 jobs. So this is an important part of our Build Back Better narrative that we've been putting forward, and we're working with the provinces to do this.
Right. Let me reality check the Build Back Better narrative on the superclusters, because we had the Parliamentary Budget Officer, Yves Giroux, on yesterday, and he had a report about the supercluster program, which you've led. The government put in close to $1 billion over 5 years. You promised it would create 50,000 jobs. The Parliamentary Budget Officer said they can only account for about 2,600 or less. He says it's been underperforming. Let me show you a bit of what he said to us.
What our report suggests is that the spending is slower to take up than the government itself is expecting or was expecting, which may not be a bad thing in and of itself if it's to ensure that the projects that are getting funded are the right projects.
He said he could only account for 2,594 jobs created from 24 of the 45 projects announced. He said, I'm quoting from his report, that's 14 jobs for every $1 million combined investment. How do you justify that?
It's a great question, Evan, and I think facts matter and numbers matter, and I'm an accountant. So I want to underscore that the report reflects projects up until February. It did not reflect March investments for the full year, so it was an 11-month snapshot, did not take into account all the projects till March. And up until now, and we're going to publish this on our website and share this information with the Parliamentary Budget Officer as well. Up until now, there's over 200 projects, over $800 million worth of investments that have been made into these projects. The majority of those investments are coming from the private sector, and this is going to create thousands of jobs. So there was just basically a difference in the timeline, and I wanted to share that with Canadians.
Okay, well, that's new information. His report said you've only funded $30 million by March and planned, and of that amount, $18 million was for operational and administrative costs. Like, he's saying it's never going to meet your targets.
So that's a very good point, and that's why we're saying it didn't take into account the March projects, which are a significant uptake. And if you take that into account, and up until now, what we've seen in investments, it's over $800 million worth of investments in different projects. And again, majority of that has been supported by the private sector, which was the key part of this initiative, which is to leverage private capital and private investments. And this is going to create thousands of jobs. And we're going to publish that information on our website. And more importantly, we're going to share that with the Parliamentary Budget Officer as well.
Okay, well, obviously we look forward to seeing that. Minister Bain's a big day for the automobile industry. I always appreciate seeing you. Thank you, sir.
Thanks very much for having me on, Evan.